Hello and welcome back to Bookish and welcome back to Vlogmas Day 10, Tagmas Day 4. This is the bookshelf book tag, and I was tagged by Kari over at Very Literary Kari. Thank you, Kari, for tagging me to do this. The original tag was created by Serena at A Wandering Mind. I'll leave links to both of those channels down below. I'll be reading the prompts off my phone as usual, so if you see me looking down, that's what I'm doing. So let's just get right into it. How many bookshelves do you have? It depends on how you count. Behind me here, always over my shoulder, is the big bookcase. It's actually 3 of those kind of IKEA bookshelves that are pushed together. I still just call it one bookcase. It has 6 rows of shelves on it, and then over here to my left is a shorter version of the same thing where there are only 4 rows of shelves, but there are actually 3 boxes of shelves, so I count that as 1 and 2. And then in the living room, my wife and I have a set of shelves, which I refer to as the fancy shelves, which you'll see a little bit later. Prompt 2, how many books are on your bookshelves, or how many books do you think you have? Did a rough estimate today, and they're probably between 800 and 900 books on these shelves here and on the fancy shelf in the other room. Prompt number 3, how do you organize your books? I guess I organize them by genre and then alphabetical by author. So if you just look behind me, the very top shelf, I have plays and poetry, and then the novels start there, and the novels run all the way down to the next to the bottom shelf, and then on the bottom shelf I have non-American history books, and in the very corner over there I have art and literary criticism books. These shelves over here are mostly history, biography, historical works, and then I have my short story collections down here, as well as my genre fiction, some fantasy novels, and my detective fiction novels are down here. On the fancy shelves, it's mostly hardback books because, well, those shelves are fancy. So that would be kind of the difference there, and like I said, they are organized alphabetically in these shelves, not on the fancy shelves. Prompt 4, what is the oldest book on your bookshelf? I've shown this book before. It is called Winning a Cause. World War stories. Notice it's not World War I stories, just World War stories. It was published in 1919. And this is clearly a book that was meant to be used in schools as a form of propaganda to convince American young people that World War I the World War had been a great and noble cause in which we participated and that we defeated evil. I have a kind of a World War I obsession, did for a long time, and I found that book in a used bookstore, and I couldn't help myself but buying it, even though it's not valuable as a historical source about the war, but maybe a historical source about American propaganda after the war. Prompt 5, what's the newest book on your bookshelf? That would be, I'm pretty sure, The Saddest Words, William Faulkner's Civil War by Michael Gora, which I read for Nonfiction November. I think it was published in October, maybe in early November. I can't exactly remember, but I don't get a lot of new releases, so I'm pretty sure that's the newest book on my shelf. Prompt 6, what's the longest book on your shelf? Well, I'm pretty sure the longest book on my shelf is this Volume 1 of Remembrance of Things Past by Marcel Proust, which I read 2 years ago, Volume 1 for March of the Mammoths, and it came in at around 970 pages. Pretty sure that's the longest. I haven't read the other 2 volumes. Volume 1 contains Swan's Way and Within a Budding Grove. I haven't read the other 2 volumes, but if you just take Remembrance of Things Past as one monumental work, it's somewhere around, what is that, 2,700 pages total, so that would definitely be the longest, and even if it's just take each volume as its own, then 970 is, I'm pretty sure, the longest book on my shelf. Prompt 7, what's the shortest book on your bookshelf? That would be this collection of short stories by Rainier Books, a Sudanese author, and the name of the short story collection are 13 Months of Sunrise. I read this as a part of Women in Translation Month, I'm pretty sure. And it's only 69-70 pages long, so I'm pretty sure that's the shortest book I have on my list. Let's see. Prompt 8, what is the predominant genre on your bookshelf? That would be fiction, and if you want to get more specific, literary fiction would probably be the longest genre on the bookshelf. Prompt 9 was, have you done a bookshelf tour? And the answer is no, and here's the point of hypocrisy in this video. I'm really not a huge fan of bookshelf tour videos, and there are a couple of types of booktube videos I generally don't watch. I generally don't watch haul videos or bookshelf tours. That kind of eliminates some videos where I feel an obligation to watch, and those are two that I have the least interest in. So this whole tag is a little bit uncomfortable for me because I'm obviously showing some bookshelf tour stuff. Anyway, I've never really done a bookshelf tour. I did make a video where I did a bookshelf reorganization video, which is probably also hypocritical because it's a kind of bookshelf tour. Prompt 10, go on a random number generator and talk about the book that corresponds with that number. I did the random number generator and my number was 244, so I counted in 244 books starting at the top left corner of the shelf behind me, and book 244 was One Flew Over a Cuckoo's Nest by Ken Kesey. Ken Kesey's this is the only book by Ken Kesey I've read. It's famous because there's a movie starring Jack Nicholson. Had this book for a long time. I read it a really long time ago, like probably more than 25 years ago. But essentially, it is set in an asylum where a man, played by Jack Nicholson in the movie, where a man has essentially been placed, even though he really isn't insane. He is subjected to torture from Nurse Ratched and doctors in the form of electric shock, and he's eventually electrically shocked into almost a vegetative state, at which point he is broken out of the asylum by another inmate. It's a pretty good story. It's a pretty good book, I think. Ken Kesey did write a lot of other books. This is the only one I've read. He was a big figure, by the way, in the 1960s. He was he hooked up kind of with the merry pranksters, those kind of hippie people who drove the school bus, which was, painted with like tie-dye colors to Woodstock. If you want to learn more about that, you could read Tom Wolfe's Electric Kool-Aid Acid Test. You can learn more about Ken Kesey and that whole group. Kesey, by the way, also had a connection to the Beatniks. Neil Cassidy, who was kind of like an inspiration for a lot of the beatnik literature of the 1950s and early 1960s, was actually the bus driver for the Merry Pranksters, and he hung around with Kesey as well. Prompt 11, do you have fan merch or any other decorations on your bookshelf? And the answer is yes, and I shot a little video with a voiceover, which I'll show now.
Okay, I always find these things kind of awkward to film, but this is the collection stuff I have on my shelves. This is my Arrowhead collection, and then I just have weird little stuff on my shelves in various places. I have a Chivas Regal bottle from a trip my wife and I took when we just got married. I have these little army patches my son and I were going to collect. There used to be more, but these are like unit insignia patches. I have a little bowl from a wine bottle from a tapas bar I went to with a friend of mine, and a little Connemara piece of marble. On the other shelf, I have a lot more stuff. These are like just little years of service plaques I got for my teaching job, and these are all pictures of my kids when they were little. That's my favorite picture of my daughter in a little gold frame in the front. I have my stuffed animal collection, such as is too. It's my groundhog for Groundhog's Day, and then my favorite animal is a hippo. So I have a little beanie baby hippo. That's a picture of my grandfather and my great-grandfather. And then these are pictures of me and my wife from our anniversary, and her looking fancy, and from a picture when we went to Colorado, and then us just clowning around.
Anyway, so then prompt 12, show us your bookshelf. So here's a little video where I just really quickly showed my different shelves, including the fancy shelf.
So these are my shelves. This is the fancy set of shelves that are in our living room where my wife and I share space. My complete collection of Thomas Boyd is on that second shelf from the top there. And then all my wife's knickknacks are on this shelf. Along with my books are usually on the left and hers are on the right. But actually, it's mostly my books. Now, these are my big shelves where I keep my novels, my short stories. The bottom shelf there is for world history topics and art and stuff like that. But the others are all poetry and fiction. And these are my nonfiction shelves where you saw my collection of pictures, and there's a little chess clock over there.
And prompt 13 is to tag someone. I'm going to tag Rainier from Rainier Books. I've seen his books in the background, but I don't know that he's ever done anything where he showed us his shelves. And I know he has an interest in sports. And so maybe he's got some cool collectibles to show us. So Ryan, I'm tagging you to do the bookshelf tag. Thanks again to Kari for tagging me to do this. Look forward to your comments about my hypocrisy in the comment section below. And as always, thank you for watching.